Hey there, internet. Um, Today I kind of wanted to make a little kind of like important lesson video and kind of like update on how I'm doing as well. But um, I have been through a lot when it comes to drug addiction. I'm still a drug addict. I still use weed. I still use nicotine. I still drink on occasion. I'm not doing heroin or xanax or shit like that, or kratom even. Um, there's a lot of lessons that parents and their children going through addiction don't understand when it starts happening, because it's very complicated and difficult to understand if you haven't been through it before. And so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt as well. Like, you know, what you're going through is probably way more complicated than just a couple solutions from some previous drug addict on the internet. Anyways, lesson number one is that you can't control anybody other than yourself. Um, and that doesn't mean like parenting in terms of like causing your kid to rebel, because I think might be important to hold certain standards in your household when you're the money earner or married to the money earner. You know what I'm saying? But it does mean like any type of way you try to manipulate this person, any type of information you might give them, that would is like rooted in, hey, I'm really worried about this my kid, or I'm really worried about this person, and I want them to do better, so like here's what they're gonna do. You're not gonna make a plan for them. Like, ultimately, if somebody wants to get off of drugs, they'll do it, and you can put them in an environment temporarily where there aren't drugs, and so they won't be on them. But as soon as they get out of that environment, they'll be right back to it. uh, it really, like, that person just has to go through what they're going through, and they might die. Like, a lot of people don't make it out, which is a part of why harm reduction and education is much more important to let somebody that is an addict know, like, and not rooted in manipulation. Like, it's important for you to just tell them, like, hey, this is how you use clean needle supplies, this is Narcan, this is fentanyl, here are all the drugs that are laced with fentanyl, here are how you can get fentanyl drug tests, here are how you can get psychedelic drug tests, here's how you can get these types of drug tests. That will actually keep your addict son or daughter safe, much more safe than any type of rehab or anything that you could try to force them into. If you try to force them into anything, it's not going to work. They have to force themselves into it. And you can encourage them to do that, but until they do, there's no forcing them into it. It's not going to work. I know people that have gone to rehab like 20 times, and their parents have gone into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And the shame that carries from that will likely keep that person an addict versus letting them figure it out on their own. Or maybe they don't, and maybe they die, or maybe they become a meth addict. Either way, the important message to understand is you can't control them. You can only control yourself, and you can control your environment as well. Like, you can set rules and boundaries for yourself if you are the breadwinner of the house, and those boundaries can't be rooted in manipulation, but it can be like, you have to go somewhere else. You can't be doing this here. sort of thing. Like, and that might be feeling like you're making them unsafe, but ultimately going to prison, messing up their life in ways like having a seizure or something like that. As somebody who's been through things similar to this, I've never been to jail or prison, but I can say with an absolute certainty that that person needs to hit rock bottom. It's not, if their life is manageable and they're doing okay, all right, it's very unlikely that they're going to change unless they have the self-will to. And those types of people are extremely rare. It's much more likely that they're just going to be somebody that's lying to you because they love you and they care about what they think about them. And so they want to please you and they want to please themselves. They're focused on pleasure instead of discipline or something that would actually guide them in the right direction. But you have to understand that about them, and also understand that these people aren't coming from a place of understanding usually either until years and years later. And once you're so deep into it, like I never have been more than a couple years into any type of drug addiction other than weed, like it's very, very difficult because that becomes all that that person knows. But anyways, let's get to number 2. Lesson number 2, and this is regarding relationships as much as it is addicts. It's oftentimes rooted in relationships as to why an addict is using. And so I think it's really important to remember this, and this is a really important lesson that I learned, at least because it helped me out a lot. It's don't go to the hardware store looking for bananas. Now, what does that mean? Well, don't go to the hardware store across the street or whatever looking for bananas and then get pissed that there's no bananas there. Maybe there will be. You know, fucking sometimes hardware stores are selling bananas and it's like, well, fuck, I'll get a banana, you know, but they're very unlikely, you know what I'm saying? And if you go to a hardware store over and over and over again and they're not selling bananas, don't expect them to. Now, the analogy for that related to relationships is that if somebody behaves consistently their entire lives in a way that you see is a bad behavior or a unrespectful behavior, don't expect them to change. You think that, like, just because you imposed some type of knowledge or control upon somebody else, that's going to make a difference? It's very likely isn't. And so, like, if somebody fucks up, or one of your friends fucks you over, or, you know, some bitch tears your heart apart, whatever, you know, don't take that, like, personally, but also don't take it as, like, they're at fault, as, like, let it, because that will let you be hurt, and it'll also hurt the person that hurt you instead. And it's a Ouroboros type of thing, and Ouroboros is like a dragon that eats its tail. It's just a never-ending cycle of bullshit. And I'll tell you one thing, if you're a sober person and you're stuck in a dynamic with that type of situation going on, especially with your kid, if you're stuck in an Ouroboros cycle of bullshit, you're hurting him. You're not helping him. Telling an addict that's suffering that they are, like, constantly shaming them will keep them in a perpetual loop of bullshit. So if somebody's behaving a way and it's not okay, you can tell them that, and you don't have to be like, fuck, this is like really bad or whatever, like, but just tell them that you're worried about them, but don't try to like control or manipulate them or take it as a personal thing, because it's not personal. It's a mental disorder. And yeah, that lesson goes so far. Like, don't go to the hardware store looking for bananas. I had a lifelong friend of mine who's also my cousin fucked me over in a kind of way that I didn't expect. We were supposed to get a place together, and they ended up lying to me about the situation, and I ended up not being able to move into there with them. And I always thought, like, how could he? I was also in a life-threatening situation which he did nothing for, when I got into the life-threatening situation to save my friend. So it felt like, well, where the fuck is he? But it's like, when I think about it, that this person was never this way throughout our entire lives. He never stuck his neck out for me. So why would I let him hurt me and also get pissed off and like hurt his emotions because he behaved in a way that is consistent with the way he's behaved his entire fucking life? Like, why would I freak out about something like that? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3 is, and I know I kind of brought this up earlier with my first lesson, but harm reduction is the only way that you can help. And luckily, I happen to be the type of addict that studied and got into depth with, here, I got tobacco loaded up in here. You can see that. I'm going to take a little hit. Hold up. I think a good title for lesson number 3 would be, there is no stopping. There is only less bad. Like, you're not going to prevent it from happening permanently. That's up to them. But what you can do is educate them. Educate yourself. Like, understand what they're doing, what they're getting themselves into. Fentanyl is a real serious problem right now. It's kind of like the devil's Joker card and the deck of hands you get played in the game of life. Like, there really isn't much you can do to stop it from happening other than educate them. It's very important. If somebody is using any type of drugs other than like maybe shrooms and weed, I've heard even weed being laced with fentanyl if it's bought off the street. So it's very important and very necessary for addicts to test their drugs, and it's very inconvenient. It's kind of like a skater wearing a helmet. It's like, well, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, that's fucking stupid. I've had 3 friends, close friends, overdose on fentanyl. 2 of them on accident. 1 of them I don't know. I don't know if it was on accident or not. Let that sink in. It's dangerous. It's not preventable. In some situations, you can test a bag of drugs and it'll show up as clean, and the other corner of the bag has fentanyl in it. It can be, there's so much that is very dangerous with that type of situation, and literally anything can be laced with it. Molly, 2CB, mescaline, fucking heroin, oxys, any type of prescription opioid, lean, fucking xanax, cocaine, meth, I think meth is almost as fucked up, by the way. We might get to that in a different video, but yeah, like, and understanding like that meth and fentanyl are on another level, and Xanax and heroin are kind of like right below that, like, is also really important for addicts, I think. Like, probably one of the only reasons I'm alive right now. I was a Xanax and heroin addict, but I was never a fentanyl or meth addict. I've never even done meth, on purpose at least. Something a big difference I've noticed in between fentanyl addicts and meth addicts. Uh, Meth addicts are productive. They'll get things done. They'll seem like they're doing okay or whatever. Fentanyl addicts, like, it's obvious. But meth addicts will do extremely fucked up things, like beyond prostituting themselves and stealing copper from the fucking grocery store or whatever. Like, really messed up things to their family and stuff. It's very demonic. It's like they lose their soul. Now, I don't have a lot of personal experience with meth other than my uncles and certain members of my family are addicts to it. I can say that shit is also really bad. And, like, I don't think rehab is the correct option for addicts unless they are hooked on meth or fentanyl. Like, if they're on meth or fentanyl, like, their time is coming quick. Like, they're gonna die soon, and, like, it does make sense to try to prevent that in any way you can, or at least prolong their life. Honestly, a lot of meth addicts don't die, but their soul will be gone for the rest of their life, and it's not who they were when they were born anymore. Yeah, anyways, let me get to lesson 4, kind of rambling here. Lesson number 4. Sorry, I just got distracted. Hold up. Alright, I felt kind of weird about this one because I only recently became religious, and it's made a huge change for me in my life, but I don't like the type of people that force upon religion. But I will say, so much of my personal success, and not just recently, but in general, was linked to my care for God and spirituality. Like, I really gave a fuck, like, and wanted to know, like, what spirituality was, and I put my power in a higher entity at all points. Like, and that's ultimately the only important thing to do. It doesn't matter if it's fucking, unless it's a demon. I would highly encourage against that. You have no idea how demonic the world can get when it comes to addiction, or maybe you do. Don't pray to no goddamn demon when it comes to this shit, bro. Like, as long as it's a higher power that you've experienced in some sort of way, whether it's you feel that there is a universal consciousness collecting us all, or you feel that, like, the Hindu God is real, or you feel that, like, Jesus, the story of Jesus Christ, is real. Like, there's so many different options, and you can even come up with your own personal option and connection to God, and that can be your own interpretation, as long as you're not worshiping yourself, and you're saying that I don't have control, I need your help, sort of thing. That goes a very long way, and addicts that don't have that, I've never seen succeed, ever. Like, they eventually start fucking up at one point. I didn't recognize at the time that I was doing that. Like, I'm so fortunate. I was very into philosophy. I was very into theology. I studied lots of different religions and all that sort of thing. And I was always like, not atheist, but not really any type of one religion either. And eventually I became like a semi-Christian. Um, I wouldn't define myself as like a typical evangelical Christian or like a crazy like Jehovah's Witness Christian, but I recognize myself as a Christian now. And that wasn't something that would have happened had I not gone through what I'd gone through. And like, to the people that have never seen God in their lives, like, well, your life must be really boring, because like, the people that are, God has a plan for everyone, and sometimes the devil gets a hold of people, whatever. Yeah, anyways, the point of what I'm saying, the lesson I'm saying is like that you have to say that I'm not the one in control. And I would say it's okay to encourage that for somebody else. Like, even if you're not a religious person, if you know somebody that's struggling, don't encourage them into any one religion. Don't try to force them into it, but be like, hey, there's this beautiful option out there in life. And like, yeah, it's kind of bullshit in some ways, and yeah, like, normal spirituality and churches practice bullshit all the time, but like wine. I'm about to kick their asses. No, I'm not. Yeah, it's like, and I would also say that if you have this like inner sense of that's fucking bullshit, fuck God, I would encourage you to do some reflection and like self-thought upon how demonic that feeling is. And I recognize that in so many people that choose to be atheist or choose to be not spiritual, is like, fuck that shit, like, and it's either like rooted in trauma or like ego. Isn't that demonic? It's like, you know, so like, not that you should be religious, or not that you should tie yourself down to any one religion, but you should like consider the fact that maybe there's some shit going on in the world that you don't process. We only have 5 senses. There are these particles moving around me and you right now that clump together and like move around and then clump with other ones, and it's completely random and we don't understand why, but we know that they're there. There's literally energy moving all around us all the time that clumps and interacts with itself and moves in random directions. We don't understand why, and we can't see or sense it without advanced computer machines, but we know it's there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much going on that you don't perceive within your normal state of being. As somebody who's done mass amount of psychedelics, like, those boundaries and barriers kind of erode, and what you're presented with is either rooted in demonology or rooted in God. And that's just, it's like, it's as simple as that. And like, it takes, you know, I was a psychonaut. I probably taken acid like 200 times, shrooms 500 times, like mescaline, everything under the book, fucking literally every psychedelic, DMT, salvia, whatever. I've done it all, and a lot, like more than most people, you know. And that's something I've learned from that. Something else that's funny is that, like, especially with like DMT or shrooms, is when you do it that consistently, the entities that you interact with or meet start trying to tell you, like, dude, fucking chill. Like, stop. Like, you've been, this is your 5th time visiting this week, you know, fucking stop doing that. There's some fucking guy doing his thing over here. Something else I've noticed regarding that is, like, all like complicated answers for the Big Bang. And by the way, the Big Bang is real. We can see it. Like, that was a thing. Like, and so I get why people would logisticize that into the scientific method. And if you don't have the scientific method, there is no proof or evidence. Like, I get that. However, like, every kind of like complicated theory that's common still explains God. Like, it doesn't denounce that. Like, for example, a lot of people that are atheists say that we live in a simulation. Like, this is just a, you know, in the world of AI now, we can create, like, for example, Sims 8 or whatever the fuck the new Sims was. Like, there's just a bunch of entities going around, like, experiencing consciousness in a sort of uncomplicated way compared to us, and just interacting with each other. And like that, like, how is that any different from our land? And it's like, well, yeah, like, maybe the world is a simulation, but it's like, well, then the person or entity that created that simulation is God, and that's the person in charge, you know. It like, another example, like, well, it was the Big Bang, like, it was just quarks just started moving. It's like, well, that doesn't have a basis or a starting point either. Like, where did the quarks come from? There had to be a starting point, like, logically. And so, like, all of those excuses, all of those kind of like ideas people give for why spirituality is bullshit have no idea how rooted their idealism, philosophies, and like sort of opinions about life are rooted in demonology. Like, it really is. And if you study theology for years, like I did, as an atheist, by the way, like, I was an atheist for years and years and years. I was raised by 2 higher than 140 IQ parents that were atheists. And by the way, my dad is now religious. And yeah, like, sorry, there's like people walking around outside. Anyways, the point of this lesson is that no matter what you believe, God is real in some sort of sense. And like, we're gonna stop again for this guy. And if you're an addict that's being haunted by whatever you have going on, whatever mental illness is rooting you to this drive to pleasure yourself and step out of yourself, you know, it is very important to say, like, and think like, well, I don't have any power over myself. I need to put my power in something else. And it really doesn't matter what that thing is, other than like, I'm gonna put my power into Satan. Because if you do that, what's gonna end up happening, as somebody who, by the way, like, kind of did that in a way that I wasn't really knowing until it happened to me on my 18th birthday on an acid trip. If you do that, you're going to be given a contract option from Satan, or whatever the root of bad in the world is, the yin of the yin and the yang, whatever you want to say. It'll come to you with a contract if you live in a world with democracy, and like offer you shit in order for your soul. And if you don't believe me, try it. If you're an actual interesting and talented person that matters a little bit in the world, try it. If you're not that yet, then become that. Because, like, nobody gives a fuck about some NPC, you know? God, there's 8 billion fucking people in the world. You think that you matter more than the next guy? You know? But if that is true, you will be given a contract. It'll happen. Watch. You don't believe me? Watch it happen. So yeah, that's lesson 4. Put your belief and power in something higher than yourself, because you're not going to be able to do it on your own. You have to admit that you have a problem and that you need to change. And yeah, like, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. Like, and the people that tell you that it does, like Catholics or Mormons or that sort of thing, the people that tell you, like, oh, you have to believe in this one thing, fuck that. Like, how about better yourself at first? Don't worship yourself. Worship something that's a higher power, but figure something out first. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I think that, in my personal opinion, like, church has lots of bullshit, like, and the Bible has some stuff that's bullshit, just as everything else in life does, you know? Yeah. Anyways, kind of a ramble video. Just wanted to say this as like I've been through so much as a former heroin addict and like a former Xanax addict, and my dad has too, and my mom has too, and they've had to struggle and fight and try to educate themselves in so many different ways, and it really didn't end up helping until recently. And that's because of these lessons I've learned, and also like striving towards discipline, like I said, like becoming religious as opposed to being atheist. Like a lot of like steps that I had to take to get here, and so it's important to me to put this out there, and especially because I've finally been getting success. Like, it's been cool for once. Like, I've been getting views and stuff. That's awesome, you know? Yeah. Just wanted to put this out there and make a video. I know these types of videos don't do as well, and like people don't give a fuck that much. Like, I get that. Like, if I came across somebody that had a 30-minute video talking about this, I probably wouldn't watch the whole thing either. So like, you know, I'm doing this for myself just as much as I'm doing it for other people. You know, I feel like it's important to remind myself of these things. So that's another thing, by the way. Maybe number 5 is consistency, and I'm not going to get into the depths of that because this video is too long, but consistently doing things every day to help yourself as opposed to not, whether you're around an addict or you are the addict, will help out the situation. Like thriving as yourself and controlling what you can control, which is you, will always help. You should always do that, like, if you can. Anyways, leave a like, subscribe, whatever. Thank you.